So I've done my pre-sketch for the GB Rail 736 and just doing this with fine line markers, and now I've just masked off the border for a nice clean edge, and now I'm just going to add the background. So I'm going to go with a bit of a blue. This is going to be a lot of yellow, so I think a nice blue will help contrast it. It's a bit grey, I think the brush is a bit dirty, but I don't mind. Got my watercolour pans here, which is what I'll be using. I like this dark blue here. So I'm going to apply quite a bit of thick layer at the top corner where it's going to be furthest away. And as it comes down, I'll just thin that out with my water. Just like so. Not to forget this little corner as well. I'm just pressing down on the masking tape just to make sure that it's fully sealed. Just keep on that water. Pull some of this down. Okay, and well, I've still got some of this paint at the top. It's quite thick. I'll use that just for a few bit of the darker shades at the bottom. Just give it a wash over. So I don't want any white areas. And I don't want to go over the yellow bits because that'll mix with the blue and it might make it like a little bit green. So just a little bit where it's mainly grey. Just a little bit underneath the masking tape. I'll go over that afterwards. And for the windows as well. Actually just do the roof, which is going to be grey and it's light blue first. I want to pull back some of this paint in the background just by dabbing it with a tissue. Just create a little bit of a textured effect. Go. And then my favourite combination is this kind of teal or blue, whatever you want to call it, and burnt umber. So I'm going to apply just this underneath. These are just the base colours, so there will be lots of layers on top of this. Add some of this at the top here. Again, just eliminate those white spaces. So very little paint on the paintbrush for a nice soft glaze. You probably can't even pick it up on the camera. Maybe it's a touch darker brown. And blend this up a bit. this area will be overhanging, so it's going to be darker underneath. Don't go too thick so it ruins all the details, because I'll use them as guides later on. Now for a bit more texture I might add a bit of a splatter effect. So I'll just load the paintbrush with lots of water and paint. And just find a blunt object. Just add some paint on there. Maybe some splatters of blue. Okay, now I'm just going to lift up some of those areas, especially around this train. Keep some areas, like in the sky. Okay, so I think that'll do for the base layer. I'm going to dry this all out, remove the masking tape, and then I can start working on top of these layers. I actually just need to blend this out first at the bottom. There, that's better. I think maybe before I do, maybe show a bit more darker blue at the top. Maybe. Just smudge out the bottom edge. I have no idea what I'm doing. I was never really had any lessons in art. This is just all guesswork. Practice makes perfect. And soften this edge. I just want like some horizontal shapes to contrast the train going this way. So that's just all I'm doing here. Okay, so I think I'll do for the base layer. Let's let this dry. Okay, so now I've removed the masking tape from the outside. I'm going to start with adding a few more layers of colour within the actual train itself. So I'm just going to add a yellow, a dark yellow just for the front area. And that previous grey that I added some like natural tones. And those splatters I've done add some natural texture to the actual train itself. So I don't want to do this train completely perfectly clean because it's a working train. Just like so. And then underneath here, this whole bit is going to be lots of complicated greys. So that'll be again, just look at my photo reference, just double checking things. That's quite a thick layer on there, so I'll water that down. ever I feel like some of the details are getting a bit muddled up there, I'll just get a bit of tissue paper and just lift some of that off. I can go back over it where I want to. I'm using a mixture of browns as well, because like I said, this isn't going to be a completely flat colour. And with the watercolours as well, they will naturally dry lighter than what it actually looks like. So for this I might just get a nice wash over, blend all those together. And when that's drying, I'm going to go back over to the yellow here. So this front area will probably be the darkest area, so I'll add a lot more different layers on there. Might even a touch of brown as well in a few areas. Then just mix that in a little bit. In any areas that I want to lighten up, I can just add more water to it and just scrub over it. Then damp that with the tissue. There we go, and those bits will be more lighter because they're more facing forward. Now, as it gets more closer to the top, I'm going to add a few orange tones just to make it a little bit a little bit darker, sorry. And blend that in with the yellow. Majority of the vehicles are all pretty much the same process. Once you've got a system down that actually works for you, you can then just replicate it in multiple vehicles. So it's the same process as I paint cars and stuff. So in the past, when I have got commissions to actually do trains, I'm not worried about how to actually do it because I can just do the same method as I used to paint vehicles. Now for these lighter areas, I won't actually add any extra paint to my paintbrush. I'm literally just using water and any sediments that's left on from the previous. So if I want any more yellow on here, I could just lift it from this area and apply it on. There will be some like highlights and details just around these edges and stuff like that, but I'll do that afterwards once I've got all the paint layers down. So I'm going to go ahead and time lapse and just do the rest of the vehicle in the next layer, then we'll see where it is with the progress. So it's been about half an hour, 20 minutes, and this is the progress I've made so far. As you can see, I've built up the tones of yellow on the vehicle, and now the process of everything's kind of washed out, as you can see from the least amount of worked area here. I'm just building up the contrast to darken up the shadows. From the front perspective, I want the contrast to be highest, so I've added the blacks with these water inks that I have, and then as I go further along, I'm going to add more blues to the actual shadows to make it more blend with the background. This will make the train pop out from the background much more and stuff. A little bit of green here and a few more earth tones at the bottom, but yeah, just going to build up all these details. Once I've got all the necessary details down, then I'll go to some Posca markers just for some fine tuning, and we should be all done. So let's continue all these details. It is very complicated at the bottom here with the wheels and the brakes and all this cables and all the other pish that I don't really know what's on a train, but you can see I'm trying to make this area the most darkest point. This will have the least amount of light. But yeah, it's looking cool. These ink pens are really good because they are quite dark, but then you can use water to really thin them out. Yeah, cool. Let's see what happens. So here's my progress so far. I start off with adding a biro, just a little circle around the background, just another detail for the background to pull it back further. What else have I done? I did want to go initially with the blues and the shadows and stuff in here, but I didn't quite like how it was going, so I just went with the good old fashioned Sharpie pen just to get those deep contrast shadows in there first. Then built up some gradual layers with Posca marker, just add these little like grey highlights around there. Kind of smoothed it out with a few crayons, a few wax crayons, and then added a few dark washes on top of that, and it's created a nice kind of effect. For the background as well, I wanted some transparent paint just to smooth out these edges a bit here and that. So I found this makeup paint from Halloween, which is be used, yeah. It's quite transparent, so I added like a little bit of a haze just around the background there, just again to try and pull the train out further. And I used that to kind of just went right over the rear end of the carriage here, just to blend that out. Then yeah, just a few Posca marker details with the yellow to help pull out those areas, the lettering and stuff. A few splatter effects, just again to build more texture as well. Now I think it's just for the fine details, just to make it, yeah, just make it good. So it's looking really cool so far. So I think that's a train all finished now. I did add the GB rail freight at the bottom there with a brush pen. See now, I've added some purple shadows here. I don't like to have my shadows just completely jet black. I want to add some colour into the painting. So some nice purple just on the under sections of it. I added a few white highlights here on the windows and stuff, just to make that pop out. And a few vertical lines there. But yeah, I think it looks really cool. Nice freight train. It's nice to do trains for a change. I like doing cars, but it's nice to do trains. Yeah, looks really cool. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you later.